Good evening, I'm Camden Cohn, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Earlier today, Nebraska Athletics announced the newest class of the Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame. The five-member class includes Kevin Davis, a men's gymnast from 1985 to 88, Deandra Hyman, a bowler from 99 to 2002, Litza Reitzma, a former volleyball player from 94 to 97, Aaron Taylor, a Husker football player from 93 to 97, and Stephanie Thader, another volleyball player from 1989 to 92. All five members of the class earned multiple All-America awards in their careers and combined for 18 All-America accolades, 3 individual NCAA titles, and 7 team national championships. They will be inducted on October 31st. For more information, visit Huskers.com. In other news, Game 1 of the NBA Finals is tonight in Oklahoma City as the Thunder host the Pacers. Tip-off is set for 7:30, and it can be watched on ABC. Game 2 of the Women's College World Series is also tonight as Texas looks to win the title. The game has been delayed due to weather and will start no earlier than 7:45 on ESPN. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 1 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
The siege and behind the screen, dances around, has he moved, pump fake, out it comes to Jacobson, puts it up and in! Holy smokes! Way to go, Cale! Cale Jacobson from Ashland, Nebraska, into the starting lineup 3 games ago, hits a huge, humongous, gigundous 3.
Runs and deals. Ball swings and lets the fly ball to left. Coleman going back to the wall, and it's gone! Home run, Jordy Bull! A towering drive to left field by Jordy Bull, and that ties the school record for home runs in a season by a Husker. Allie Viola, you've got company. It's the best player in college softball with her 3rd home run of the weekend, Jordy Bull.
Bump set left. Almodovar's in the front row. She tips it. Doug. Huskers own it. Set left. Harper again. Over dig and out. Floyd Harper Murray in the big red. She's carrying him. That's 18 kills for Harper. It's 25-24 Nebraska.
Now, here is your host, Nick Handley, on the Huskers Radio Network.
And welcome to a Thursday night of Sports Nightly, as we bring you that from our Akrs Broadcast Studio every night on Sports Nightly. Akrs, the Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, which is always sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealers, supplying the equipment and service to advanced agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Busy show tonight, our last one of the week. We will be off for tomorrow, but I got plenty to get into today also, including a conversation with our very own Damon Benning on the Husker football broadcast. We'll get his thoughts on the big event going on tomorrow, where, again, it is the Battle of the Boneyard taking place at Memorial Stadium tomorrow afternoon. The 7-on-7 Skills Camp Plus competition will be taking place, as we've been talking about all week long. One of the, really some of the best young talent throughout the country will be in Lincoln to compete in that one. We'll get Damon's thoughts on that, and also just this important month of continuing to develop that current roster right now. And as Nebraska looking to take even a bigger step than they did last year in year 3 under Matt Rule, and year 2 with guys like Dylan Raiola, Ja'Cory Barney, and also some big roles being filled by underclassmen. Lots to be excited about for this football season, so we'll get DB's thoughts on all of that. It's been a busy day in the baseball transfer portal. We'll talk about that here in just a moment, but wanted to start off just really kind of a cool situation, and anytime you have a chance to reminisce on some great Nebraska athletes at the University of Nebraska and Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame, and that obviously is all-encompassing to the state of Nebraska. The announcement came out this morning that the 2025 class includes Kevin Davis with the men's gymnastics team from 1985 to 1988, Deandra Hyman Buller from 1999, to 2002. Lisa Reitzma, volleyball player, obviously from 94 to 97. Aaron Taylor of the football team in 93-97. And Stephanie Thader, a volleyball player from 1989 to 1992. All make up the 2025 Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame class. So congratulations to all of them with those 5 Husker greats making up that 2025 class of the Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame. Getting back to what is, I'm sure, has a lot of people keeping an eye on their phone, keeping an eye on everything from any potential additions to the Nebraska baseball roster, but more importantly here in the last 48, 72 hours since the transfer portal window opened, and really since Nebraska's return from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I know a lot of the exit meetings are going on. And we say exit meetings, those are, not necessarily, hey, this is your meeting as you're going to exit the program and never come back. These are the meetings that every football coach, baseball, basketball, volleyball, bowling, whatever the sport is, they have those meetings with all of these student athletes before they move on to the preseason or the offseason. And for baseball, a lot of these players that were on this roster the majority of them anyway, are going to now head to their designated summer assignments. So what those might look like, we know a lot of players will head to the Northwoods League, even a couple maybe in the Cape Cod League in various parts of the country in the summer. So you have those meetings, you kind of get an idea of what you need to work on for the following year, maybe where you fall when it comes to the depth chart and what your overall role is right now and what you can possibly do to increase that role. And obviously, those conversations can lead to maybe not happy with where my role is, maybe not optimistic about my future of getting more playing time, or just overall fit. And having said all of that, with all of those meetings and just the inner workings taking place right now, 2 names in particular that I think have probably drawn a lot of the attention of Nebraska baseball fans that will be hitting the transfer portal is made official. Earlier today, Robbie Bullen on his social media account on Twitter, or X, whatever we call it these days, had made the announcement that he wanted to thank Nebraska for everything the past year. He said, with that being said, I will be entering the transfer portal with 1 year of eligibility remaining. Has his phone number on that, and it has his stats from Barton County Community College where he was outstanding. And even at Nebraska, you saw really the late season surge as Robbie Bullen was more of a consistent starter for Nebraska in the outfield. You saw not only the speed, but the athleticism as well. Was a grinder in the batter's box, had 2 significant moments this season, too, with a walk-off single against Minnesota, and then had, of course, that huge walk-off RBI single to drive in Dylan Carey to keep Nebraska's season alive against Michigan State, that game in the 10th inning. So obviously had some big moments with Nebraska, but he has entered the transfer portal. And then also Caden Brumbaugh, one of Nebraska's more consistent hitters, also announced that he is going to be in the transfer portal. And again, these are guys that had bigger contributions than some of the other ones that also made their entry into the transfer portal. I'll tell you about some of those names here in a moment. But if you look at Caden Brumbaugh, Brumbaugh was one of those guys that, even with this Nebraska offense, that during the month of April really had some struggles. Caden Brumbaugh was one of the more consistent hitters. And it wasn't always the slug that he brought in. It was a lot of just the good contact to all fields and being able to get himself on base. He was one of those guys that was always hovering around 400 with an on-base percentage, and was usually over 300 with his batting average. So, that's, again, a part of the lineup, and he played a good second base on top of that, but part of a lineup that he seemed to kind of solidify a little bit there throughout the year. So that's obviously going to be a big hole to fill for this Nebraska coaching staff. But you always wonder, too, and I haven't had any conversations recently with the coaching staff at all, but you always do wonder some of these moves that might take people like myself or members of the media or the fans by surprise if the coaching staff somewhat sees it coming, too. And so I'm always curious when it does come to what goes on behind closed doors, when it does come to that overall surprise factor. I think with about every sport, when it comes to the transfer portal, there's usually going to be one or two that coaching staffs maybe don't necessarily see coming, or at least initially, until you have a chance to step back from it, maybe reflect and be like, oh, okay, now this makes a little bit more sense. And again, not sure exactly what those conversations entail with the coaching staff and Caden Brumbaugh. But again, the numbers speak for itself, that Caden Brumbaugh was one of the more consistent hitters for Nebraska, but a guy that started his time out at Oklahoma State. He's an Oklahoma native, came over to Nebraska, battled some injuries, was healthy for this entire season, and put together a pretty darn good season. So wishing him the best, but that will be a big hole to fill next year for Nebraska. And then mentioned Robbie Bolin and really his contributions there towards the end. Now, some of the other guys that we heard yesterday that had put their names in the transfer portal, a lot of these guys are younger players. At least a couple of them are younger players, or guys we just didn't see on a consistent basis throughout their time with Nebraska, whether it was longer or shorter. You've got junior college transfer Colin Cymbalista, who was from Canada, another one of those Jayhawk Conference community college transfers that made their way into Nebraska. Cannon Sundgren as well. Blair product Jay Sean Unger and Aiden Leeser, all those guys have put their entry into the transfer portal. Out of that group, Cymbalista was probably the most that we saw. He appeared in 15 games this season. He started in the DH spots. I believe all 4 of his starts were in the DH spot. He had a couple of hits. And we did see Jay Sean Unger throw 2/3 against Omaha, where that was a game where it felt like you saw a lot of arms in that one. Also, redshirt sophomore outfielder Hayden Lewis will also be transferring after seeing action in 8 games this season. Another local product out of Utan. Guy comes from a very baseball-rich family, too, from his father and his brother. And Hayden Lewis was one of those guys that even though he didn't play a whole heck of a lot, he was highly active with the team, always just seemed to be, one of those good teammates, even when he wasn't playing as much baseball as he would like to. So those are some of the other names that have entered the transfer portal for Nebraska. Getting back to Brumbaugh and just some of his numbers, again, he hit .309 this year. He had 5 home runs, a huge 2-run shot against Holy Cross, and that was, of course, the first elimination game that Nebraska played in, where if you remember that game, it was Holy Cross that got the solo home run in the 5th inning, and they were able to hold things together up until that 5th inning, keep Nebraska off the scoreboard. They strike first, and you're thinking, uh-oh, this is not good. It was Caden Brumbaugh with that 2-run homer that gave Nebraska their first lead, and then they were able to really never look back in that game. So he had some big moments this year, too. 18 doubles on top of that, had a team high of 12 stolen bases, and sometimes you even saw him play in the outfield as well. Another guy that I didn't mention, too, that I want to make sure I mention because we saw him just for 1 year. He was a transfer from South Dakota State, Cale Frost, also entering the transfer portal. And I know a lot of people are thinking, wait, I thought Cale Frost, his last year of eligibility would have been this year at Nebraska. Well, he was out in Kirkwood before he went to South Dakota State. So he did have 1 year of eligibility that if he wants to utilize that, and a lot of these guys will go in the transfer portal, you'll see what your options are for especially some guys like Robbie Bolin and Cale Frost. And I have no concern that those guys aren't going to find any place to play. But, with that junior college rule impacting guys that are seniors this year, that Cale Frost would fall under that. So he would have 1 more year in college baseball. So Cale Frost also did enter the transfer portal. And that one was, again, just sort of a mixed reaction. And I think, from my standpoint anyway, because I was really excited. I know a lot of people were very excited to see what Cale Frost could do this season as a Husker, because you're talking about the reigning 2024 Summit League Player of the Year. Nebraska remembers seeing him when they played South Dakota State last year, had success against the Huskers then. He was just absolutely tearing up Summit League pitching. I remember the beginning of the season, it took a while for Cale to even get his first hit. And this is where I really felt for Cale, because things, for the most part, and this is a true testament to the type of player he was coming into Lincoln, things came pretty easy for him at South Dakota State. He was just pounding pitching that he was seeing. And this is a guy that, you're going to look back and you're going to look at the Kansas State game the first one that they had in Manhattan, that was a very successful one for him, where he had a couple of home runs. Between that, the Sam Houston game where he hit 2, came off the bench against Purdue and had a pinch hit home run. And there is that pop in the bat and that ability for Cale Frost. I mean, he had 21 homers in his junior season with South Dakota State. So clearly he was having that type of hype as he entered Lincoln. And for Cale, I think that adjustment was some of the pitching that you were seeing a little bit more on the reg with, as early as in the season with guys like from UC Irvine and Vanderbilt right out of the gate. And I just don't know if he ever felt that or found that consistency that he was used to. And not sure exactly, again, what his future plans are going to be. But that's a guy that I think another year for Nebraska, if he decided to stay, would have been in the mix. At the very least, would have been a great option to have coming into possibly DH, play some outfield for you or whatever. But Cale Frost, again, another guy you wish the best for. It didn't work out the way that I know he and I'm sure even Nebraska coaching staff would have hoped it would have when they knew they were getting Cale Frost. But that was one of the guys in the offseason that was a new face to this program that I was really excited to see. And again, had some moments this year, had some flashes this year, but for whatever reason, just could not find that consistency, which is something obviously that this team is searching for. So wishing him the best of luck. So again, those are some of the names, again, that have entered the transfer portal for Nebraska. 2 of the bigger ones as far as the amount of innings and their impact, both offensively and defensively, would have to be Caden Brumbaugh and Robbie Bolin. But again, Cale Frost, I think, is another interesting one there too. So wishing all of them the very best, though, because, whether the season worked out for them or it didn't the way that they wanted it to, all those guys wore the Husker uniform. They all represented the program with the highest of class. And I could say that, too, because I had a chance to see them a lot on the road. All of them were good people to be around. None of them got into trouble or anything like that, too. And again, they were good ambassadors of the athletic department, so wishing them the very best. And this is going to be a very interesting and I think to some degree exciting time for this coaching staff and for this baseball program going into a year where you are, again, the defending Big Ten tournament champions and looking to obviously replace some key figures, because not just on the guys that I mentioned that entered the transfer portal, but we just talked to one guy that, pitched his last time in a Husker uniform in Drew Christo. That's going to be a huge replacement. You got a lot of other guys, a lot of other seniors, Gabe Swanson and some others that gave you a lot of at-bats, gave you a lot of innings on the mound. And so there are a lot of holes that this coaching staff is going to have to fill, but I know they're very excited about this incoming recruiting class as well. And so we'll see how all of that plays out. But that's the one thing about this coaching staff that they've shown the ability to do is to get on the road, especially in this area. And I made reference to that Jayhawk Conference, the junior colleges like Barton County, like Hutch, like Garden City, and some of those really good baseball programs that Nebraska has great ties with. We'll see if they tap into that as well. And also, of course, as the transfer portal, as you lose guys from the transfer portal, it's obviously an area where Nebraska can get some quick fixes too. So this is going to be a really interesting offseason, especially this month or two for this Nebraska baseball program. So I know that was kind of a big part of today's Husker headlines, if you will, with the transfer portal very active in college baseball and obviously impacting the Nebraska baseball program as well. When we return, we're going to talk some football. Damon Benning, part of the Husker football broadcast in the fall morning show as well. We'll talk some 7-on-7 and also the summer workouts that are going on right now and who stands to benefit the most from all of that. Looking forward to our conversation with Damon Benning coming up next here on Sports Nightly.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
You're going to feel a puff of air.
Jong's Optometry has set their sights on staffing up.
Try the next line. Hey, Kim, can you tell our 2 o'clock we're running 15 behind? Sorry, we're a bit backed up today.
He needs an optometric technician to keep an eye on it all.
Where are the dilation drops?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or get us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Hey Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. We're about to make everyone's life easier, healthier, and happier with our next guest, Damon Benning. Of course, you hear on the Husker football broadcast. Looking forward to cranking that up here in the fall, and also on Hurrdat Sports Live every morning with Ravi Lula. So Damon he's working a little bit overtime today to join us. But DB, how you doing, my man? How's summer treating you so far?
Man, I'm good. I'm fantastic. Anytime you guys put out the bat signal, I try to get back to you quick. I'm actually excited to talk to you because we don't get a chance to talk a ton, and I love the network. So I'm just hitting a bunch of birds with one stone, which, since I was never a very good hitter in baseball, this is good. This is good.
How much baseball have you guys been talking about? By the way, when you talked to McLaughlin last week, you realized we were playing golf during that time?
Yeah. So in true Ben fashion, as you know, he spent as much time getting to landing and getting to that golf course as any avid nut job as I've ever known. So I was just happy we could steal some time with him, but how do you put up with his mood swings? I know what I have to do. I just be quiet. How do you put up with his mood swings?
It's kind of that look. You just got to give him the look of you let him go for a little bit, and then you just give him that look of, all right. And see, that was something that Sharpie always did a great job, especially in the baseball broadcasts. So I'm doing my best of being the calming influence. But there's times that, I need it a little bit too. But, yeah, you just got to – I'm the older person in the broadcast booth, so I guess I got to act like it sometimes.
You know how bad it is. You've known me forever. When he's the one that is the calming influence, we're all in trouble.
That is very, very true. Very true. I wanted to, if we had more time, I'd get into this because it's something I was going to talk about at the end of the hour too. But, I mean, you're a huge Steelers fan. Yeah. You guys got a new quarterback, so are you pumped?
Yeah, Nick, it's the struggle is real. People give me a hard time because, two cities cover all my professional sports teams: Penguins, Steelers, Lakers, Dodgers. Mm-hmm. And in the last 10 years, I've had to cheer for more players that I've never liked on my respective teams than any time in my life. So why not add one more to the list? The guy that kept Tomlin from getting the Super Bowl in 12, that has been the bane of social media existence over the last 3 years as he's kind of played the media. Why not land in Pittsburgh, where I'm going to have to find a way to cheer for you? So I figure if I can cheer for Jeff Kent or LeBron James, Wanya Rebe, like some of these guys that I have never, ever liked a day in my life, and they all of a sudden are on teams that like Luka Doncic is a real struggle. Not as much as LeBron, but it's tough. Mm-hmm. And Nick, I know you're going to laugh at me. I'm not even an Ohtani guy.
Whoa.
And yeah, listen, great player, super elite level, rare talent, but I did not want him to be a Dodger. So, I mean, I'll take the championships that come with it, but I'm gritting my teeth and bearing it.
I see how you did throw that in there in a very subtle manner. You'll take the championships. I mean, I feel really bad for you. As you know, I'm a long-suffering Cleveland fan, and we can't even win a series when we're up 3-1 in 2016.
Are you shocked that Hinch has been able to repeat this after kind of catching lightning in a bottle last year?
I am. It's a model that, again, it's always frustrated me, but yeah, I'm along for it.
Apparently he's really good. Trash cans or no trash cans, Hinch is pretty good.
Yeah, yes he is. I want to get your thoughts first and foremost on a big event tomorrow, the 7v7 competition going on in Lincoln. This is something that I know, especially with not only your time as a college football player, but you're so inundated with the college game, but also the high school game too, and all the things that go on during the off season. And this 7v7 is obviously a really big thing that's really taken over the nation when it comes to the off season. And to get that competition in Lincoln and to use it to make it basically double as a recruiting weekend too. The first word I use, DB, is creativity. This is just a very creative moment for Matt Rule, and again, being able to get talent in Lincoln and in the facilities of Lincoln. So I'm curious on your thoughts of just this entire event.
I agree with you. He is so savvy. And I said this a handful of months ago, Nick. I think hopefully if Nebraska wins at a clip that the fans want them to win and that he thinks that he can get Nebraska to, we'll look back at this era and I think we'll really appreciate his adaptability. His ability to kind of, I mean, he can hit the 0-2 curveball. He can sit dead red and hit a fastball. His ability to just adjust and roll with the times without the outward complaining, navigating this college football landscape right now, I think has been nothing short of incredible. And he's on the forefront of this. You'll see a lot of copycats next year with this, Nick. But Nebraska can always say they've gone first. You simply just call it a camp, and you get the Rashad Streets and the Trey Taylors and Juju Johnson. And you know what's going to happen? This is how I could see it. I could see some of these linemen that play with these elite level 27, 28 guys, and, they'll quote unquote tag along for the camping experience. And, Nebraska can work them out. They get to put their eyeballs on them. And kind of, as you know, Coach Rule and that staff are extremely confident in their own eval. So getting these guys on campus and kind of double up the weekend, it's almost like stealing. But I think kudos to his creativity for playing the game. Once he knew the rules, he's going to push the envelope, and I'm impressed.
There's one thing that I think when people would talk about getting people to Lincoln, being able to essentially explain away, or not even explain away, but experience away the whole stigma of Lincoln. We hear so much about cornfields now. I thought they were cornfields and everything. But you know it and I know it. There's something about those facilities, especially being in Lincoln in the summer. It grows on you. Just the state of Nebraska between Omaha and Lincoln has that ability to do so. But also now you've got the brand new plush facilities on top of that. But so having said that, that's obviously a big advantage. But just in your experience, Damon, what do you think the bigger advantage is? Getting those kids to see Lincoln for what it is and see these facilities for what they are, or seeing this coaching staff for what they are too? Because I think that's also a sneaky big play that Nebraska has, is getting in front of these coaches that it's pretty infectious to be around those guys.
Yeah, I'll start with the latter because I think that's a fantastic point, and one in which you don't hear a lot of people talk about, because in this recruiting day and age and kind of what's going on with coaches, I know Nebraska fans and a lot of college football fans are a little bit gun shy in terms to embrace, and you feel like it could change tomorrow and new faces. But I couldn't agree with you more. The staff's personality and kind of their authenticity and how he's set up strategically, the recruiting side, the retention and acquisition sides, the general manager, the peer-to-peer recruiting, the sharing of the recruits amongst the coaching staff, where you don't just have one lead recruiter. It's a family effort. He's built kind of this family feel infrastructure, which is why I think you see so few guys hit the portal. And what I think they really do, Nick, which I'm glad you brought up, is they get a good feel on how much you really appreciate them. Because as you can tell, this is a staff that is really appreciative to be here. They love the university. They think they can win. They don't make excuses. They just put their head down and go to work. And so I think when the potential or the recruits and players see that and feel that from the staff, it's like, well, what is it about this place? Like, why do these guys believe? Yeah. They haven't had a ton of success in X amount of years. And then once that staff figures out that you've made the trip and kind of you're as interested in them as they are in you, then they really get a chance to go to work. Because as you can see, they trust, not only do they trust their own eval process, but they're not afraid to shoot for the stars either.
Damon Benning joining us. Damon, can you stick around for one more segment? Because I want to talk about what's going on now with the current roster with summer workouts. You all good with that?
Absolutely.
All right, we got more coming up on Sports Nightly. Don't go anywhere.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Your next vehicle is waiting for you at Woodhouse. With over 20 locations and a variety of brands, Woodhouse offers everything from reliable trucks to family-friendly SUVs. Whether you're looking for a Nissan, Mazda, or Infiniti, our team is here to help you find the perfect fit. Enjoy a seamless car buying experience with our expert staff and exceptional service. Visit Woodhouse today, where quality, selection, and customer satisfaction come first. Or get started online at woodhouse.com.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the 9th inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Appreciate you joining us here on a Thursday here, Sports Nightly, our last show of the week. We'll be back at it on Monday. Jessica will be back in town, but happy to be joined, Damon Benning, on the Husker football broadcast and with Hurrdat Sports Live every morning as we continue to have a conversation. Really important time going on with this football team. And, Damon, the reason I bring this up, the reason I think it's such an important time, because it's one we don't get a chance to talk about that much because there's no practice availability or workout availability where the media gets a chance to hear from the players. I mean, this is where you're behind the scenes getting the work done. Yeah. You've experienced this. You've been a part of this, but also we've seen things change where coaches have a lot more ability to guide these workouts too. Just how important is this month right now for this current team?
It's huge. It is absolutely huge, and you can't understate it. I think they've set the precedent with the players, their workouts, how detailed they are, how structured they are. Nick, the stuff that they do to bond, they've been in Omaha a couple of times this week for a couple of bonding events like Top Golf and some other things where they have to do it in teams. Then you have your workouts in the morning. They've scheduled and mapped their days out with specific workouts and how to get their caloric intake in. They're about as dialed and particular. Some may say a little OCD. I'll just say particular, pretty principled in terms of how they've gone about really doing this. It's cool to watch. It's fun to be a part of as a guy that works with them close behind, as a network, employee, and then having a son and being so close to some of these guys and watching it work real time is cool. The workouts are grueling. They're detailed. You made another good point about how they do have a little bit more flexibility with what they can do and maximize the hours that they do get with the players. And I think Nebraska, one of the cool things about Coach Rule and his staff is they're always on the cutting edge of what's next, what's working, what do we need to tinker with. Like they're so competitive. They're always on to the next thing, trying to maximize in the moment. It's pretty cool.
When you look at, I know everybody has an opportunity to take advantage of this and to have significant gains. Obviously, you're hoping that happen in the spring as well, and even the winter workouts too. But if there is a time where maybe certain guys can separate themselves a little bit, is that happening in the weight room, in your opinion? Is that happening just with the chemistry, say, the receivers with Dylan Raiola? Where do you think the most advantages on this roster during this time of the year?
Yes and yes. You're speaking of baseball, hitting 1,000. I think this is the time, and it's such a competitive bunch, and it's all the little things, Nick, like showing up on time, daily rigor. When you get your iPads and you're on your own and you're asked to turn in your notes from the particular workdown, or they'll send you a couple of series and, hey, tell us what you see, put it in your own words, use our offensive and defensive terms, where guys just have to constantly just finding ways to compete, not only with each other, but within what's asked of them. Because man, you've covered sports and done this for so long. Like, we've lost a little bit of and I'm far from like Walt Kowalski, get off my lawn guy, but like just rigor, like competitive stamina, the ability to do something every single day because it's what you're supposed to do, not because what necessarily you can immediately get out of it or whatever. It's, can I do what's asked of me on a daily basis and be my own benchmark? And that's really what they're asking them to do every day. That's why there's not a ton of downtime. And rigor is important. Can you hang in there? It's a little tougher in the fall where you have your classes. You have to balance your schedule. You're traveling. Their team GPA was fantastic. So there's always all those other little variables once the season starts. But this is the time they're really trying to test, sort out, and push through competitive stamina. And if you can hang in there and show up every day, you're going to give yourself a chance. And if it's close in a competitive standpoint, and there are some of those things where there's some telltale signs where you're not willing to pay the cost to be the boss on the day-to-day, they're not going to reward you on Saturday. Or Friday for some. They're going to go with the guys that they trust, and I think the summer workouts are a big part of it.
I want to ask you brought up a great point about how they're going about some of these different workouts, though, too, where it's competitive, but you're doing it in different areas of, you mentioned Topgolf. You're doing certain things that are bonding, so you're not getting weighed down to where it almost feels like you're overwhelmed or you almost burn out. It feels like there is an element of fun that comes with this competition that I think keeps guys engaged.
100%. And just finding ways, we call it gamification, right, where you find little ways to make something always a competition to bring the best out in yourself. And, sometimes it's, your wife may tell you, Nick, you keep missing the trash can with the Kleenex. So for like the next 6 days, you're like, I am not going to miss that trash can, right? And it's little things like that they ask these guys to do while you're trying to be a good teammate. That you get to see the real magic when you start to put 2 and 2 together, where you can cheer for these guys, and knowing that they may do some of the same things that you do or share some of the same time that you do, but when you become that other-centered and keep your competitiveness, that's when you give yourself a chance to kind of be that dark horse that I think a lot of Nebraska fans think this team is.
Last question here. Got about a minute and a half here with you, and appreciate you joining us again. You mentioned being a father, a player who's obviously looking to make a big move this year, too, in what is a crowded defensive back room. I know there's competition there, but that's got to be exciting. That group, when everything sorts itself out with the depth, that is going to be fun to see.
Yeah, they've got a lot of interchangeable parts, and it is cool, right? He's got to be able to cheer for Buford and Singleton, and he's really, really close with Malcolm Hartzog, and he knows the next 3 up if he's in that group that, hey, why I love the fact we get along, I've got a job to do too. And he's got some young guys that'll be breathing down his neck too. So I love it. I do think it's exciting. I think they're multiple. They're going to be real versatile. And with 2 DB coaches back there with Addison Williams and Coach Butler, 2 guys with coordinating experience that are really savvy technicians, I think the sky's the limit for a pretty multifaceted group.
Damon Benning, again, you're going to hear him in the fall. Can't wait for that, obviously. If you don't want to wait that long, just go Monday through Friday morning, every morning on Hurrdat Sports Live with he and Ravi Lula. Always great stuff there. DB, anytime our paths cross, I always appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending time. Again, I know 4 hours or 3 hours on the air this morning wasn't enough, so you just needed a little bit more before you step into the weekend, my man.
Hey, you got to do me a solid too, man. Anytime we can grab you, we're going to. You believe that.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Damon. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it, buddy. Thanks.
That is Damon Benning. We got more coming up here on Sports Nightly, including Damon's favorite team. What does Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers mean? We'll get into that. Hour 2 still up ahead as well. Don't go anywhere.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
The 2025 Husker football season is right around the corner, and we need you at all 7 games in Memorial Stadium this fall. A limited number of club-level sideline and end-zone season tickets are now on sale and start at just $420. Act fast, as season tickets will only be available to purchase until June 9th. To purchase your season tickets today, visit Huskers.com/tickets. Go Big Red!
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Wrapping up hour number 1, we'll talk some more college football. Really want to get into this House settlement delay. There was a really good article on CBSSports.com talking a little bit about the judge that is having the final say on everything and approving the settlement. Some good stuff that I wanted to get into. But if you just saw this afternoon, interesting, and this was one of the breaking NFL news stories of the day, that Aaron Rodgers plans to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he finally has a home. This was first reported by ESPN's Adam Schefter, that it ends months of uncertainty, not necessarily where he would even be, but if Aaron Rodgers was still going to play football. And you look at a situation now, since he split with the New York Jets during this offseason, that there was always that link to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but there was also that, well, okay, is he going to be around for any type of mini camps? And is he, does he really want to put forth that type of commitment? Or is this going to be something that after we get through June, maybe right before training camp, that Aaron Rodgers would sign somewhere? Well, his plans are, apparently, according to Adam Schefter, that he's going to fly to Pittsburgh this week. He's going to participate in the Steelers' mandatory minicamp next week, and that Rodgers will, he'll give it a go. And he's obviously going to be a part of that quarterback room that opted to let Russell Wilson and Justin Fields leave as free agents. The Steelers never used a high draft pick on another quarterback, and we're basically set to enter this offseason with Mason Rudolph as their starters. So you would think, and nothing against Mason Rudolph, but you would think even with Aaron Rodgers, and I'll say it, with some of the drama, the baggage that he does bring, you've got a future Hall of Famer in the building there in Pittsburgh. And again, not sure exactly what the terms of this deal are, at least as of now. But this is pretty significant when you kind of take a look at where Pittsburgh has maybe been a little bit more in flux when it comes to that quarterback position since Ben Roethlisberger retired. I mean, you look at a lot of different names. Mason Rudolph has been one of those names too, but I just think that Aaron Rodgers, even though he's not the same Aaron Rodgers even 2 or 3 years ago when he was vying for an MVP season and had those MVP seasons, that Achilles injury was significant. He was good in spots a year ago, but we'll see if he can put a lot of that drama behind him, because what I think is so interesting about this pairing between Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers and that X factor of Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin, to his credit, has been fantastic of minimizing the drama. I mean, he had one of the biggest headaches in the league, one of the most talented at the time wide receivers in the league, but one of the biggest headaches in Antonio Brown. And for the most part, I think as good as anybody could in the NFL, was able to squash a lot of that and not allow it to be this major distraction. I think the last time I remember him being a major distraction with the Pittsburgh Steelers, remember he was going Facebook Live during one of their post-game speeches after a win. But other than that, Mike Tomlin was able to kind of keep things in check there. It wasn't until Antonio Brown left the Steelers organization where it kind of got wildly out of control. So, look, I think Mike Tomlin's biggest thing is he's a player's coach, but I think there's also that respect of, I will treat you like adults if you treat your job like an adult. Meaning, if you're bringing any unwanted drama or anything else, any unwanted attention into our locker room, into our facility, then it's going to be dealt with. And I know there was always that thought of the Bill Belichick way and the Patriot way, and that's exactly what they did, is no matter what was going on inside the walls, it all stayed inside the walls. And those guys understood that whatever they decided to do in their personal life, if they made it public and if they became a distraction to the team, that they would be dealt with. And chances are, especially with Bill Belichick, they wouldn't be around anymore. There's a degree of that with Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's a no BS guy. I think his personality is one that it really does attract players to that organization. I think this is going to be very interesting given what Aaron Rodgers is coming off of, with a lot of that time in the Jets organization where he had no problem, even when he was injured, of really pointing out a lot of the things that were going wrong with that organization and in that locker room, and he had just gotten there. So this is where I think you're going to see two mindsets and essentially two personalities maybe having a come-to-Jesus moment where I think Mike Tomlin will accept Aaron Rodgers for what he is, as long as Aaron Rodgers accepts that position and being in that organization for what it is too. And that's one that, again, they run things a certain way, and they do not want any of that unnecessary attention or drama that Aaron Rodgers, whether it's been his own doing or not, has been linked to. So going to be interesting to see how that one plays out in Pittsburgh. But looks like Aaron Rodgers is a Pittsburgh Steeler, and you would think now would have the leg up on the starting quarterback job there in Pittsburgh. When we come back, hour number 2, we'll talk a little bit about this House settlement. What's going on? July 1st is just around the corner. Will we have a signed settlement, and where will that revenue share kick into action for the new college athletics year? We'll get into all of that and what maybe some of the holdup is. That and more college football. We'll also talk a little more Husker sports, the latest news going on today as we continue here. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Good evening, I'm Camden Cone, and our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Earlier today, Nebraska Athletics announced the newest class of the Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame. The 5-member class includes Kevin Davis, a men's gymnast from 1985 to 88, Deandra Hyman, a bowler from 1999 to 2002, Lisa Reitzma, a former volleyball player from 94 to 97, Aaron Taylor, a Husker football player from 93 to 97, and Stephanie Thader, another volleyball player from 1989 to 92. All 5 members of the class earned multiple All-America awards in their careers and combined for 18 All-America accolades, 3 individual NCAA titles, and 7 team national championships. They will be inducted on October 31st. For more information, visit Huskers.com. In other news, Game 1 of the NBA Finals is tonight in Oklahoma City as the Thunder host the Pacers. Tip-off is set for 7:30, and it can be watched on ABC. Game 2 of the Women's College World Series is also tonight as Texas looks to defeat Texas Tech and win the title. The game has been delayed due to weather, but is scheduled to start at 7:50 on ESPN. Our sports ticker is brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Hour 2 of Sports Nightly is up next, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Creighton's got it. Center dump. Kendra, wait, no. Nebraska bumps it again. Harper for the match. Off the ticket out. Call the grandkids. They did it. 15-10. Set 5. Nebraska keeps beating Creighton. 23-0 all time. That was a volleyball match.
Gets the snap. Back to throw, steps, throws, intercepted, picked off Malcolm Hartzog at the Nebraska 43-yard line. It's his 4th career INT.
Horn has the sign. He comes set, and the 3-2 pitch. Popped up, playable, shallow left. Carey makes the call, backing up, and he makes the catch on his 118th pitch. Ty Horn has 8 shutout here in the championship.
Now, here is your host, Nick Handley, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Sports Nightly here on a Thursday, our last show of the week. Nick Handley with you. Jessica Cootie off for the week. She'll be back on Monday as we'll have a full week of shows again, getting into the summer months. Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. Also, big thanks to Damon Benning joining me in hour number 1. Couple of segments with DB. Some good stuff between the 7-on-7 camp and what's going on right now with the summer workouts with the Husker football team and coaches. So good stuff there from DB as always. Also, just a reminder, I wanted to let you know about the Battle at the Boneyard going on tomorrow. I know this is one of those very unique events, and it's going to be even more exciting, I think more entertaining than what you saw with those Friday night light camps in the years past. This is, again, if you haven't heard about this, I'm just going to reset all this for you, that it'll be taking place tomorrow afternoon at Memorial Stadium. It is open to the public. The first 500 fans that make their way into Memorial Stadium to watch this 7-on-7 competition, you get a free Adidas T-shirt. You get a Fairbury brand hot dog. Again, if it's me, you got me at hot dog. I'm there. Or, well, I shouldn't say or, and. So you get the shirt, you get the hot dog, and you get a free Gatorade. All right, and I think it's going to be like really nice tomorrow, very pleasant. Some of those Friday night lights camps, those things are like in the triple digits. So good weather, some amazing talent. Some of the best skilled players you will see at the high school level, all the way as young as freshmen to seniors and everything in between. A lot of major cities that will be making their way here to Lincoln, major city teams that will be making their way here. So some unbelievable talent. And we know anytime Husker Nation shows up for events like this, you talk about making lasting impressions on these guys that maybe don't even have Nebraska on their radar yet, or are considering it, maybe it strengthens that thought as well. You, the Husker fan, can help out with that. Again, that is the Battle at the Boneyard tomorrow. I believe the schedule of events, the camp itself and a lot of the different drills they'll be going through starts in the afternoon, right around 2 or 3 o'clock. 5 o'clock is when the actual pool play, the 7v7 competition begins. 6 o'clock is when it'll be bracketed out, and that will run all the way to the championship final game in the 7v7 competition. Again, going on tomorrow. That is the Battle at the Boneyard, the very first college football. And I mentioned this yesterday. Damon doubled down on this as well, that this is something you'll probably start to see in other college football venues in years to come. But remember who the first one to this was, and that was Nebraska. And sometimes at BC, Brian Christopherson mentioned this a couple days ago when we were talking about it as well, that there's something to be said about when you are the original one to not only launch this as a very creative opportunity to get some excellent talent in your facilities, but also Nebraska's going to be able to learn from this. When you're the first one at the table with something like this, you're able to see what worked, what didn't work. I'm sure just like any big event, you're able to get some feedback from the participants and the competitors and say, get their thoughts on what they liked and things that they would like to see, improved. So this is, again, another great opportunity. I continue to go back to that word creativity when it comes to Matt Rule's ability to promote this program, but also to evaluate and acquire talent. This is another one of those very creative ways to do so. So looking forward to seeing what comes out of this weekend and how it goes tomorrow night. But again, if you've got nothing to do, please check this out tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon, I should say, Memorial Stadium, free for the public. And if you're the first 500, you get some stuff as well. So you may be asking yourself, well, hey, when's the whole rev share thing? Now, that's happening, right? I mean, this is going to take place. We're going to have players getting paid with the, not just by NIL, but this is going to be happening now with that revenue share. I keep hearing about $20.5 million. I keep hearing about the questions of how is it going to be allocated to certain revenue-generating sports, what's going to happen. What we do know, at least feel 99.9% positive that this is going to happen. But there's a really good story if you get a chance to check out CBSSports.com from actually 3 contributors of the CBS Sports football coverage that write a really, I think, a very interesting piece and something to just keep your eye on when it comes to really the key person in this entire revenue share situation that Nebraska college football, obviously Nebraska being part of that, but the NCAA versus the House, this historic case that has really changed college athletics as we know it. And Judge Claudia Wilkin, so she is the judge that is overseeing this, but she was also the judge that oversaw the very first groundbreaking hearing, lawsuit, it's probably the better way to put it, that put the name, image, likeness in play. And this is now a situation where she also finds herself right in the center of changing the course of collegiate athletics. She's 75 now. She is, again, her importance in college athletics, I think, is well documented. She works out of Oakland, and she is overseeing, as I mentioned, the case with the O'Bannon versus the NCAA lawsuit. And that not only led to what we now see in NIL, but we're talking about the antitrust law that it took place and in the scholarship now going to cost of attendance. And then you were able to see the NCAA versus Alston case, which she also oversaw. That expanded the permissible educational benefits, which did include cost of living stipends. Remember the cost of living thing? We're thinking, oh my gosh, so now you're getting paid to have these cost of living stipends on top of cost of attendance. Student athletes are starting to get a little bit more money in their pockets than they were in the 90s, early 2000s, and even 2010, 2011, and 12. And so what had set off with this judge and her rulings on these lawsuits is now opened a door to all kinds of different lawsuits. And that's where we stand today with the House versus the NCAA case that Judge Claudia Wilken is overseeing. So let's fast forward to where we are today. And that is the date of June 6th. So June 6th was to be the date that this needed to be signed by, the deadline that this needed to be signed by. And you're thinking, okay, that's tomorrow, right? Well, the thing is that if you didn't know, on Monday, this was pushed back to June 27th. So now you have a situation to where you can see this go as far as June 27th. It could be signed by then, hopefully before that, but by June 27th. And that would give you the smallest window of time for the July 1st new calendar year for athletics. And that's the ideal situation for everybody involved with this, that, okay, they can roll out this new plan, this revenue share plan of being able to pay student athletes. Well, there's an interesting twist to this as well. She is not beholden to that deadline or to July 1st, because there's nothing in this settlement or in her writings that says she has to have a decision by that June 27th. She could look to extend it even further. But the July 1st deadline, that is an NCAA thing. That is all of the college administrators are hoping it's July 1st, because that's a critical date for college athletics. Again, it's the beginning of the new academic and athletic year. So that would be a logical transitional point to be able to implement this new system. It's the official date when all the teams that are moving to conferences, we're seeing the resurrection of the Pac-12 and other conferences and other just moving and shaking when it does come to conference realignment. That's also the date that everybody will officially be members. So with all of this uncertainty of if and when this thing will be signed, there's a lot of different scenarios. What I thought was really interesting about this article is you have athletic directors that are essentially running on 3 different budgets. One that obviously does have the revenue share plan in there, one that has a version of it, and one that doesn't. And so as you're getting closer to that July 1st new academic and athletic calendar year, what type of budgets are you looking at as well? Because if this settlement is approved, and again, everything says that this thing is going to be approved. It just hasn't been 100% approved yet. That you'll have unlimited scholarships that'll be allowed under the new roster limits. We also know, and we've heard many athletic directors, either publicly or at least close to sources have said that some will fully fund those scholarships, and then there's others that will not. We know that the SEC is requiring its members to set aside $2.5 million of its $20.5 million cap for new scholarships. So this thing has a lot of different layers to it. But what is now becoming interesting as we're within a month of the new calendar year is you're now in a situation to where if you decide, well, we've got to roll this out. It hasn't been approved. We think it'll be approved, but it hasn't yet. It hasn't been signed by Judge Wilken. If schools decide to do this, all of a sudden you're not in the guardrails of the NCAA regulations because you are still under that type of guideline. So maybe that's a bigger question, is if the clock hits July 1st and they still don't have this thing approved, are you moving forward assuming that it will within days and you just want to be ahead of it and you'll suffer the consequences? You'll assume that the NCAA will be lenient on anybody that just decides, hey, we're going to pay players. We know you're not supposed to under the NCAA, but this new rule will allow us to. It just hasn't been approved yet. Or would the NCAA have like that as their last stand of, all right, we're going to hammer on these teams. They weren't supposed to do that. It's such a weird situation that we find ourselves in here on the reason I bring this up is because, again, the deadline for this being approved was supposed to be tomorrow. but that has been extended to June 27th. So, what are we looking at right now? And I think it's very interesting to see how different conference commissioners are reacting. Obviously, you've got a lot of athletic directors. As I mentioned, you're juggling a bunch of different budgets right now, trying to figure out what that's going to look like. There's just a lot of balls that are in the air right now that I think all of us just assumed, hey, this is going to happen. In the lawsuit's original language, the two sides had until June 6th to finalize the settlement. Otherwise, the case would go to trial. And again, on Monday, Judge Wilkin granted a motion to extend the deadline to June 27th. So that comes just 4 days before administrators expect to start the revenue sharing with athletes on July 1st. There's a lot of, I think, anxiousness might be the best way, because I don't think there's even pessimism. I think there's still the utmost optimism that this is going to hit before that June 27th deadline, and there'll at least be a little bit of a window for everyone to adjust, pivot, and be ready to basically share the revenue, to implement the revenue share to student athletes across the country. But what if it doesn't? What if July 1st comes and goes and we still do not have this thing complete? Then what? That could be a little chaotic. And I don't envy any of the administrators in this one, too, because usually this is the time of, this is why you have a lot of conference meetings going on in the summer. This is when a lot of the administrators are probably taking some of their vacations going on. But you can't really do that right now, because any day, Judge Wilkin could sign this thing and say, all right, it's approved. Now go forward. And then we'll start getting the answers of what sport is going to get how much, which sports are going to get prioritized. I know we're doing that in Nebraska. We're just having that conversation about Big Ten baseball and how Big Ten schools and their athletic departments will prioritize the ball bat sports. And I think that's a big question for Nebraska as well. But until you know that this is happening and how it's exactly happening, it's kind of interesting. I don't think anybody's overly nervous, but I think they're a little anxious. I think people just want to see this thing be agreed on, have it signed, and then move forward. But it's kind of waiting to the last minute on this one. Already one deadline has been extended. And again, it's interesting that deadline, if it is not met on the 27th, do you get another extension, or will this thing eventually go to trial? These are things that were never talked about before, but are at least worth asking the question, is this thing losing any momentum, or is Judge Wilkin just trying to be as detailed and make sure that when this thing does hit appeals, which it will, this whole ruling will be appealed, that they have very strong language that is ironclad, that will basically be unbreakable. And I lean on that. I think it's probably that, but it is interesting that we are already approaching one deadline that thankfully on Monday was extended. So if you were wondering what's going on with the House settlement and what is taking place right there, I know I threw a lot of stuff at you right there, but there is a very good article on CBSSports.com breaking a lot of this down too, and also bringing up some of the anxiousness that is probably on the minds of a lot of college administrators right now. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some more college football. Also, we're going to update you on what's going on in the transfer portal. Mentioned back in hour number 1 with baseball. There's a lot happening there. There's a lot of activity going on in college baseball other than super regionals that get underway tomorrow. We got more coming your way here on Sports Nightly.
Your next vehicle is waiting for you at Woodhouse. With over 20 locations and a variety of brands, Woodhouse offers everything from reliable trucks to family-friendly SUVs. Whether you're looking for a Nissan, Mazda, or Infiniti, our team is here to help you find the perfect fit. Enjoy a seamless car buying experience with our expert staff and exceptional service. Visit Woodhouse today, where quality, selection, and customer satisfaction come first. Or get started online at woodhouse.com.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
The 2025 Husker football season is right around the corner, and we need you at all 7 games in Memorial Stadium this fall. A limited number of club-level sideline and end-zone season tickets are now on sale and start at just $420. Act fast, as season tickets will only be available to purchase until June 9th. To purchase your season tickets today, visit huskers.com/tickets. Go Big Red!
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
In the heartland, where ambition thrives, there are those who are made and those who are made for more. Just like the Huskers on game day, Kloss, a leading producer of ag equipment, unleashes the power of ambition in the field. Discover why our cutting-edge machinery and unwavering support aren't just a promise, they're a commitment to your success. Because at Kloss, we know you are made for more. Visit your Kloss dealer or CLAAS.com.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Your next vehicle is waiting for you at Woodhouse. With over 20 locations and a variety of brands, Woodhouse offers everything from reliable trucks to family-friendly SUVs. Whether you're looking for a Nissan, Mazda, or Infiniti, our team is here to help you find the perfect fit. Enjoy a seamless car buying experience with our expert staff and exceptional service. Visit Woodhouse today, where quality, selection, and customer satisfaction come first. Or get started online at woodhouse.com.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. As we continue on here in hour number 2 of Sports Nightly. Again, no show tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday. Jessica will be back from vacation as well, so we look forward to a full show happening starting on Monday. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other things going on. We got Super Regional starting tomorrow in college baseball. Women's College World Series, kind of a big moment. It's talking with Camden during the break, and we were going over the intentional walk situation in the Women's College World Series finals, too, that I want to get into as well. But as we are in this, we're entering the list season, as everyone knows, and that's always a fun thing to get into, because then we can start taking inventory of all of the different lists that Huskers will be on, and then we start to see everyone's obscure lists of the teams that have the opportunity to make the biggest jump, the teams that are maybe being overvalued, all that fun stuff. And we have plenty of time for that. Like I mentioned, I believe it's tomorrow, is when Phil Steele's College Football Magazine goes to press. So that thing is going to be out before you know it. And then, of course, we'll be thumbing through that for a long time. But the other big topic, other than the House settlement that I feel like I talked about enough, I can always talk more about it. No, okay, I won't. That you've got this new college football playoff model and what will be the right way to go about that. I teased this a little bit yesterday, that originally proposed by the Big Ten, and to some extent the SEC, was that 4-4-2-2-1-3 model. And I know, a lot of numbers there, right? Basically, the Big Ten would get 4 automatic qualifiers. The SEC would get 4 automatic qualifiers. The ACC would get 2. The Big 12 would get 2. Then you would have the one group of 5, and then you would have 3 at large. So, in reality, if you're the Big Ten or you're the SEC, you're not capped at 4. If one of your members is in one of the 3 at large, you could even have 5. Obviously, the Big 12 and the ACC are not on board for this. And at one moment, it seemed like the SEC was. The SEC has been a little cagey as of late. And I think I know the reason why, and I think this is being speculated as well, is in order to be in lockstep with the Big Ten and to be able to really embrace this 4-4-2-2-1-3 model for a 16-team expanded playoff, is that, well, there's 2 elements of this. One, you would definitely have to get on board with a 9-game conference schedule, because that's what the Big Ten does. You can't have your automatic, in my opinion anyway, you can't have your automatic qualifier getting having 4 automatic bids when one conference is playing 9 and the other is playing 8, because you can't have the argument anymore that, well, the SEC is just different than everybody else, so we want to limit the games that we beat up on each other because it's such a brutal and good conference. It is a great conference. It is one of the very best. I mean, again, given each year, there are going to be times the SEC is better than the Big Ten. But the Big Ten has proven that, at least last year, they surpassed the SEC, and they've got a lot of the clout. So it would behoove the SEC, if they were about this 4-4-2-2-1-3 model, to jump on board with a 9-game conference schedule. But where the pushback seems is it's not necessarily with the athletic directors and even the bean counters in the SEC. This is about the coaches. The coaches still see that competitive advantage to be able to have that, that November non-conference game against, Chattanooga or whoever. You're playing essentially a nobody. It serves as a bye week without actually sitting out a game. You're taking a breather. You're taking a beat there. There was also that proposal of a play-in type format for the Big Ten and the SEC, to where this is where that alliance would take place, that agreement, and not even agreement, but just that alliance that would mean teams like Nebraska would have a chance to play an SEC team every year, and that would be essentially your play-in game, if you will. The new model, now this is kind of interesting. The new model that is being proposed, and seems like it's losing a lot of steam with the 4 automatic qualifiers from the Big Ten and the 4 automatic qualifiers from the SEC. I don't think this is going to happen for the record, but let's just say it did for a moment. And I don't mean to bring up bad memories, but if Nebraska had beat Illinois, remember that was obviously a very close game, 1-score game, and Iowa, where Nebraska was winning that game and really kind of controlling that game in the first half into the second half. If they win those 2 games, Nebraska in this new format would have been a qualifier. So this is where we look at these different types of models to get to 16 teams of the college football playoff. It's 12 now. It's going to be 16. We know that. But how do we get our 16 teams? That's the big question. And I think the conversations are completely different depending on who you ask. I understand. I mentioned this the other day. I understand why Brett Yormark is vehemently against this, because you are limiting your ability to get automatic qualifiers. You could get an at-large, obviously more than 2, but the ACC and the Big 12 are capped at 2 AQs. So in a certain year where maybe you just have a very strong product, you're capping yourself. And that doesn't do your conference any good. So I understand the ones that are on the shorter end of the stick, the ACC and Big 12 mainly, of why they would be against this. But I also look at it from the standpoint of the school itself. For Nebraska, you got to ask yourself, what would be a better model? Would it be the one that most likely will happen, where you have 5 automatic qualifiers and then you have 11 at large? Or you're guaranteed 4 out of your conference, and then you could still potentially have one of the 3 at-larges, to where maybe you could get 5 in. I doubt 6, but maybe 5. Maybe 6. That's how Nebraska would have got in, by being an at-large, if this thing, well, if they won those 2 games that I mentioned, and if this model existed. But for the schools itself, I've always said this. I was in favor of 16 because I look at it through a lens of what is best for Nebraska. And to me, when you're having more seats at the table and you're having that opportunity, especially for those seats at the table that even if you're not a top 4 or 5 seed, where you get to possibly host the campus site game too, which would be unbelievable. I thought those were a hit last year. They were so cool to see those schools hosting instead of going to a neutral site, big NFL-type stadium where you typically see Super Bowls. It was awesome. I just think that if you can guarantee 4, regardless of what the at-large looks like, to me that benefits schools like Nebraska. Because in this competitive day and age, in this newly expanded Big Ten, I don't necessarily know if anybody is expecting Nebraska to be 1 or 2 in the conference. Because obviously if you're 1 or 2 in the conference, you're going to the college football playoff. But if you have a respectable 9-win season and you played some good teams in conference where you were able to get a couple of those wins as well, so not only do you have 9 wins, but it's a pretty heavy, pretty solid-looking 9 wins, you find yourself in that 4 spot, that's great because you're going to play in the college football playoff. So I do think that model, that most likely will not go through. It just seems like the SEC is now maybe pulling back a little bit from it after initially looking like they were very interested and you know, maybe wanting to go lockstep with the Big Ten there. That would have been a model that I think would definitely benefit Nebraska. Now you're probably thinking, okay, well, let's go back to the one that most likely passes, and that's the 5 automatic qualifiers. So it's the same thing as the 12 team. You have the 5 highest ranked conference champions, and then you have the remainder at large. So last year, again, if I could do the math, 7 at large, 5 AQs. This year you'd have 5 AQs, 11 at large. Is it unthinkable that Nebraska could be amongst the 11? No. Because the beauty about this new college football playoff, in my opinion, is if you are a top 25 ranked team when the calendar turns over to November 1st, chances are you're in the mix. Chances are you have a puncher's chance of getting into the college football playoff. Now, obviously, you've got a big month ahead of you to try to either solidify those dreams or play yourself out of it. But isn't that what we want to still see? I know a lot of people have advocated against this expanded playoff because all of a sudden it diminishes the value of each Saturday's game. I couldn't look at it any more differently. I look at it from not necessarily the teams that are perennial top 10 teams all year and just look like that they're a wagon of a team and they're on a collision course to a national championship game. That's fine. I'm looking at the teams like Nebraska that's trying to get back to that level of that national relevance when it comes to the playoff type format. And I think in a situation like that, where you are playing the schedule that you have in front of you, you get into November and you find yourself ranked, say, maybe number 23 or 24 in whatever poll. And then when the college football playoff rankings come out, you're 24, 25. Doesn't that mean if you either run the table or have at least a solid, say, 3-1 month in November, that you've got a really good shot at getting in? I think that definitely makes every one of those games matter, because the first part of the season, you want to put yourself in a position where you are a legitimate top 25 team. And then when you get to November, if the rankings would reflect that, then you've got a big November where every one of those games either gets you closer to being selected into the college football playoff, or you get further away because the way you played yourself out of it. So I think it makes everything extremely big, especially for those 11 at large. So, and that's the model that I think is going to happen. It seems like the one that's the most fair. I don't know how long we'll have the 5+11 model. I think eventually it could go to a 4-4, 2-2, 1-3, depending on how much weight the Big Ten and the SEC pull. Now, make no mistake, if the SEC decides, hey, you know what, actually we really do like this 4-4, 2-2, 1-3 model, the 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC AQs, it could happen this year. But it now sounds like, just based on the meetings last week and some of the thoughts and comments from Greg Sankey on Monday, that it's probably losing a little bit of steam right there. But keep your eye on that. But ask yourself a question just as a Nebraska fan, not necessarily even as a college football fan, but as a Nebraska fan. Which model would be better for Nebraska? Because I think there's a really solid argument to make that 4-4, 2-2-1-3 model is probably better. But then if you got 11 at-larges, does that work out well for Nebraska? I still tend to think the first one does, but unfortunately I don't think that one's going to happen. All right, going to talk some ball bat sports when we come up next. Sports Nightly continues here. Don't go anywhere.
You're going to feel a puff of air.
Jong's Optometry has set their sights on staffing up.
Try the next line. Hey, Kim, can you tell our 2 o'clock we're running 15 behind? Sorry, we're a bit backed up today.
He needs an optometric technician to keep an eye on it all.
Where are the dilation drops?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
Because my mom wore her seatbelt that day, I get to hug her when I go home.
And then it clicked. Because I wore my seatbelt, I learned that one moment in time can change a person's life forever. Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
The day we were hit was the second to last day of our high school careers.
We were about to graduate as best friends together.
And then it clicked. Because we wore our seatbelt that day, we still get to experience life together.
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Which automaker employs the most hourly workers in the country? Ford. Which automaker assembles the most vehicles in the country? Ford. That's not a coincidence. It's a commitment. A commitment Ford dealers share by offering employee pricing across a full lineup of Ford vehicles.
Now get employee pricing available across a full lineup of Ford trucks and SUVs. Employee pricing, you pay what we pay. Only from your local Ford dealer.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
I got to see my brother get married.
I would have missed my dad's birthday.
Because I wore my seatbelt, I had the privilege of being part of his special day.
I got to go home and see my family again.
Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
I would have never had the chance to see my daughter become a doctor.
I was able to go to my brother's graduation.
I wouldn't have adopted my first pet.
And then it clicked. My seatbelt saved my life. Does it click yet?
Brought to you by NDOT Highway Safety Office.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro.
Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. How about the Stanley Cup Finals? Game 1 last night. It goes to Edmonton. Yes, I'm not an actual Edmonton Oiler fan. As I mentioned, I'm a huge Chicago Blackhawk fan, but since 2015, I haven't had much to cheer about when it comes to my beloved. So I'm also a big fan of young stars in the sport, and it's easy to gravitate towards Edmonton's Connor McDavid. And he had a couple points. He had a couple assists yesterday, but it was Leon Draisaitl who bookended the scoring and got the overtime game winner. So the Oilers take game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So I was excited to see that. And then, of course, you got NBA Finals action getting underway tonight. I will say this one, when it comes to Indiana and OKC, this is a cool Midwest matchup. I don't know what this thing is going to do for ratings. I really don't. But I know that those two buildings, when hosting, and it'll start in OKC tonight, will be electric. And Jessica was out at Game 5 in the clincher for the Thunder last week and talked about how awesome that scene was. I remember back when Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were playing in those playoff games and how electric that environment's going to be. Now you're hosting NBA Finals against another. I still consider Indiana a Midwest team. So you've got a Mid-South and a Midwest team going head-to-head in the NBA Finals. Again, for someone who lives and has grown up in Nebraska and just loves outrageous atmospheres, I think it's going to be so cool. What does it do to the big markets? Are they as invested into this now? I mean, obviously, there are some major players involved in this between Halliburton and SGA. I mean, that's just to name probably two of the biggest names for each team. But there's obviously a lot of great skill for both of these teams and some big-time players. But again, it's the markets. Everyone's always going to talk about, well, okay, Indiana, okay, Oklahoma City. Not sure if I'm crazy about that. But I think it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. I really have no feel of this thing. I'm going to lean on Oklahoma City winning this thing. I hope it goes a 6th or 7th game. But I honestly have no real feel for who does what and in how many games, other than the fact that I'm just excited to see it in both of these venues, to see what it looks like, because those atmospheres are going to be fantastic. So last night, if you were watching the Women's College World Series Game 1 between Texas and Texas Tech, you saw why Major League Baseball and even college baseball have gone to the intentional walk of not having to throw pitches. And usually, so the reason that I always appreciated the ability to make that call from the dugout, now this is going back to my high school days of playing and coaching, that you could do that. And I always appreciated that because it was typically a pitcher that is trying to make sure that he throws it out of the strike zone. So many times did I see a Rick Ankiel moment where that ball would get airmailed to the backstop. Usually you're putting someone on in a situation where you're trying to create a force. So there's probably runners on base. That happens, and then all of a sudden runners are moving up 90 feet. But other than watching the movie Bad News Bears, did you ever really see, and I know it's happened a few times in Major League Baseball back in the day, but the Kelly Leak example, and if you're a Bad News Bears fan, you know what I'm talking about, where they try to intentionally walk Kelly Leak. He decides he's got to reach out and hit the ball so he can try to win the game because he was their best hope. And he, well, I'm not going to spoil it. If you haven't seen Bad News Bears by now, you probably know that he makes good contact and almost wins the game for the Bad News Bears. Similar situation last night with Texas and with Reese Atwood, that Texas Tech in another similar situation that they're trying to get a force out. And so you're hoping you're going to load the bases up by intentionally walking Reese Atwood. The college rule in college softball is that you have to still throw the pitches. You can't just say, hey, yeah, we want to put them on. So this is where that rule actually impacted Texas Tech. And you have Nigeri Kennedy, who is amazing. And it would have been what would have been ball 4 on the intentional walk. Reese Atwood found it close enough to where she could do something with it and ends up driving in 2 runs, and Texas wins in that fashion. I mean, this is exactly why this is their biggest fear. But like I mentioned before, it's not because you're worried that someone is actually going to make contact with it. You're worried that you're going to miss so violently out of the zone that runners are going to move up 90 feet. But in this instance, it was Reese Atwood who was able to drive that and then drive in 2 runs. And it proved to be the winner for Texas. So they take game 1 of the Women's College World Series. And just what was an absolute bizarre scene in that game. Speaking of the ball bat sports, when we come back, I want to reset what's happening tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day in college baseball with those super regionals. We'll tell you about that, who's playing who and when, as we wrap things up here on the week here of Sports Nightly. Don't go anywhere.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. And right now, you're going to pay for groceries. But you decide what groceries. Just keep in mind you're running out of dishwashing soap. But you decide if you're going to buy that soap. Just those dishes won't clean themselves, will they? Remember, with Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Big thanks to Camden Cohn back in our Akrs Broadcast Studio and Russ Brown for making the magic happen tonight on Sports Nightly. Again, no show tomorrow. We're back on Monday. Jessica's back from vacation as well. We'll have a lot to react to from the weekend, including, as I mentioned, NBA Finals starting tonight. You had the NHL Stanley Cup Finals Game 1 last night, which was a fantastic one in overtime. And we will also at least have, I would say, the majority. I bet there'll still be maybe a ticket or two that is yet to be punched for Omaha, but we will be able to tell you who the majority of the field is for the Omaha 8 from the College World Series. And obviously we'll have a reaction of the Women's College World Series national champion, because we will know that when we come back on the air on Monday. Speaking, though, of college baseball and what we got going on tomorrow, Super Regional action gets underway 11 a.m. Central Time. I remember those early starts, too. It was 12 o'clock local, 11 a.m. start out in Chapel Hill. That's where all of the attention will begin with Super Regional Friday. North Carolina will be hosting Arizona. Again, that's 11 o'clock Central Time. That'll be followed by Miami-Louisville at 2 o'clock. These games are on ESPN2 and ESPN+. Coverage will continue on Friday at 5 o'clock. Florida State out in Corvallis in that Super Regional against Oregon State. Again, that's 5 o'clock Central. And then the last game of the quadruple header will be Auburn hosting Coastal Carolina. That'll be an 8 o'clock start time. Again, all of those games tomorrow will be on ESPN2. Then it gets to be very busy on Saturday. You get a 10 a.m. breakfast baseball matchup between Louisville and Miami. That being played out in Louisville. Then you will go to North Carolina, Arizona. That'll be at 11 a.m., game 2 of those 2 series. Then it's Murray State and Duke, which I think is going to be a sneaky good series. That's taking place over at the Durham and Duke campus there at 12 o'clock. Again, that's on ESPNU. 1 o'clock, you'll have West Virginia out in Baton Rouge taking on LSU. That's on ESPN and ESPN+. At 2 o'clock, Auburn taking on Coastal Carolina, game 2 of that Super Regional. Tennessee and Arkansas will get their Super Regional started on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock over at Baum-Walker Stadium in Fayetteville. Again, 4 o'clock, that's an ESPN broadcast. 6 o'clock, UCLA will start their Super Regional out in Westwood in L.A. at Jackie Robinson Stadium, taking on UTSA. And then at 8 o'clock, it's Oregon State and Florida State. That one is on ESPN2. The UTSA-UCLA game, 6 o'clock one, by the way, is on ESPNU. But that one, that UTSA-UCLA one, is as much hype as I think the Tennessee-Arkansas series is going to get, and it should, because those are 2 great teams. Arkansas is playing at a level right now where they look like they are, if I was a betting man, could be the betting favorite to be in that championship series in Omaha. But Tennessee, obviously, a lot of talent, defending national champions as well. So that's going to be an interesting one to follow. But UCLA, UTSA, having seen UCLA now 4 times, and I thought they made pretty solid work out of their regional out there in L.A., staying there at Jackie Robinson Stadium. UTSA, though, that is one of the upstart teams that if you haven't paid much attention to, you need to start doing so, because the schedule that they played a lot of those high-end talented teams from the state of Texas, especially in their non-conference, what they did in the Super Regional and winning the Austin Regional as well. They got some power arms on that team, and they got some guys that can club it a little bit. UTSA, UCLA, I think, is going to be one of the sneakier good Super Regionals that you're going to see. I also mentioned yesterday, another one that I'm looking forward to seeing is West Virginia LSU, because as much of a home field advantage as Alex Box Stadium is, West Virginia has just been one of those teams that I don't think has gotten enough conversation, having won 44 games this season. So another really good series. Obviously, Oregon State and Florida State, you talk about 2 perennial powers that have solid rosters, too. Should be a good Super Regional. I mean, they'll all be good. I think they're all intriguing. But anytime you look at some of the teams that have the not the brand name, and you look at that, like I said, UTSA is one of those teams. I think that is where you're looking at those types of teams and kind of doing a deeper dive of how they got there. And they play a style of baseball that shows up on the mound, but also shows up in the batter's box, too. So could be good. And UCLA, as we know, watching them play Nebraska, I mean, that team is no joke. One of the best players in college baseball, and Rock Chalowski on that squad. And then, of course, Murray State. I know that's right now the Cinderella team. That's the one that everybody, I think, in Omaha is hoping that they can make it out of that Durham Super Regional, because that would most likely be the adopted team in Omaha, because we love the Cinderellas. We love the non-traditional teams. And I mentioned Coastal Carolina. They're no longer that team. They won a national title, and they have a solid baseball program. So I don't think you can look at Coastal Carolina as one of those teams anymore. They're that team that's, a mid-major school, but when it comes to the baseball world, that is a powerful program. So that is what's going on with the Super Regional starting tomorrow. Again, first game's getting underway at 11.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule, with your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or get us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its